Good evening and welcome to the COVID-19 update on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Mwaka. Here are some of the highlights this hour. Amid the coronavirus pandemic, more youths join EndSARS protests in Abuja, Anambra, Kogi, among other states and other parts of the world, calling for an overhaul of the police force. Today, a significant date in the COVID-19 pandemic era as United Nations mark Global Hand Washing Day. The United Kingdom raises alert over wave of the coronavirus in London, set to impose stricter restrictions. Let's begin with the coronavirus count, where last night the Center for Disease Control (NCDC) reported 179 new cases from 12 states and the Federal Capital Territory, with the Lagos state leading, recording 116 cases, followed by Anambra state, which recorded 20, and a few other states as well. River State also recorded 9 new cases, and the South State sample collection site has now been updated on the NCDC website, which now brings to about 10 states, including the Federal Capital Territory site, updated to test for COVID-19. Till date, confirmed cases are now nearing 70,000 that have been confirmed, while 52,143 cases have been discharged. Our death toll currently stands at 1,116, recorded in the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the EndSARS protests by Nigerian youth continued today in Abuja, Lagos, Anambra, Plateau, Kogi states, also in South Africa. Major roads blocked, mostly young protesters insisting the police force should be completely reformed rather than just replacing the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS, with a new police formation called Special Weapons and Tactical Team SWAT. On the other hand, dozens of young people also marched on the streets of Bauchi, calling for reforms of the police instead of a scrap. In the meantime, the Federal Capital Territory FCT has become the latest state to ban demonstrations against the new police unit created to replace the notorious Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS. River State did the same a few days ago, but protesters defied it. Now, the FCT Security Committee says protesters had been violating COVID-19 safety measures, including physical distancing and the use of facial coverings. The FCT Security Committee explains that after a meeting to review the security situation in the Capital Territory, that the decision became necessary due to the dangers posed by the coronavirus. The committee notes that it is satisfied with the directive by the Inspector General of Police to disband SARS, as well as other reforms aimed at enhancing the effectiveness of the Nigerian police. Now, in spite of campaigns promoting hand washing as a strategy to fight COVID-19, figures by UNICEF show that the knowledge of the times when hands should be washed stands at 90%. However, the percentage drops to 10% when the actual times hands are washed is measured. The figures, according to the agency, should direct the approach to the hand-washing campaigns amidst the coronavirus pandemic. The Chief of Water Sanitation and Hygiene Program, WASH, Mr. Zaid Juraji, believes that today's celebration of the global hand-washing presents a good opportunity to create even more awareness on the issue. Well, let's take you to Enugu State. The governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, he has inaugurated solar-powered water boreholes in some secondary schools in Nsukka, the local government area, to address water supply challenges in the schools. According to him, the boreholes will advance the realization of the Enugu State school water sanitation and hygiene goals and stem the tide of hygiene-related infectious diseases, including COVID-19.
As our children return to school after the global COVID-19 break, we are happy that we're able to provide them with clean potable water, which is key to the implementation of the state school water sanitation and hygiene program and control of hygiene-related infectious disease, including COVID-19. With this water borehole and the solar-powered reliable uninterrupted water supply, regular hand washing and other personal hygiene practices will go on sustainably in the school and clean potable water will be available for all other users.
Now, public health specialist Dr. Boluwaji Onabolu, who is also a wash and environmental specialist, joins us from Abuja studios to talk more about this day. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. I mean, it's a call for universal hand hygiene for all. And to beat COVID-19, the guidelines say wash your hands for 20 seconds. But how many Nigerians do you think are keeping to this?
Well, maybe to answer that, I should break it down to some basic statistics. My NGO, Wash Matter Initiatives, at the beginning of the COVID-19, and when these recommendations was recommended, we did some practical demonstrations and found that for one person to wash hands for 20 seconds under running water, the person needs at least 800 mils of water, which means that a household of 5 needs 4.5 liters of water. When you now compare that with the fact that the survey carried out by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, UNICEF, and the Federal Ministry of Water Resources says that the average amount of water available to a rural household per day is 4 liters of water. And only 6% of Nigerians actually have the basic minimum of 12 liters of water. So to answer your question, in as much as Nigerians might want to practice that recommendation, they do not have the enabling environment to do it as much as they would want to.
So the Global Hand Washing Day is a reminder for business, schools and, other establishments to ensure provision of clean and well-maintained facilities. Perhaps rich countries are meeting up to this, but with regards to what you've told us about the statistics, how indeed can we then have more access to water?
Okay. Well, firstly, we have at the highest level of government very great political will. The federal ministry, the president of the country has declared a state of emergency in water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. And so that's a very good starting point. However, one ministry alone cannot do this. So there is the need to actually have partnerships and collaborations around every sector that uses water. There's health, there's education, there's environment, in addition to the water. So we need to have collaboration between government institutions, between the private sector, and as well as the ordinary citizens to ensure that we can move the needle forward.
All right, we appreciate your time. We'd like to thank you, a public health specialist, Dr. Boluwaji Onabolu. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now, the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC and MRSA Command, is appealing to motorists not to violate traffic regulations or fail to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols for road users and travellers. The appeal was made by the sector commander of the FRSC and MRSA while flagging off the Ember Months campaign in Yola.
The last 4 months of the year, September, October, November and December, are usually called the Ember Months and are often characterized by an increase in vehicular and human traffic as a result of increase in economic and social activities to mark the end of the year and Christmas celebration. As road users commute during this period, adherence to the COVID-19 safety protocols has become an additional responsibility for the FRSC across the country. To achieve this, the Corps is creating massive awareness through its Ember Months campaign themed Drive Safe, Stay Safe to sensitize road users on necessary safety measures. This time, they take the campaign to Adamawa State.
We want to ensure that wearing of face masks by passengers are also made compulsory while they are on transit. Then temperature checks are also conducted before entrance into vehicle. We are already engaging school proprietors on effective compliance to COVID-19 protocols with respect to social distancing in school bus, use of face mask and sanitizer by pupils and teachers.
Some authorities in the state also lend their voices to the campaign, appealing to residents to take the matter seriously.
If you are careful by washing our hands, using face masks, and abiding by the social distancing, definitely, by God's grace, it will be wiped out.
I understand that now in anywhere that I want to go, I have to use this mask to cover my nose and my mouth, and then I should stay 3 to 4 distance between I and another person.
As schools resume nationwide, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) is asking states to conduct risk assessment to mitigate the exposure levels of students to the virus. But with a virus that has come to stay, how prepared are Nigeria's future generations and the institution? Dr. Abiodun Adeni is an associate professor at Beige University, Abuja, and he joins us on the program from our studios there. Thank you for joining us on the program. I'd like to begin with you giving us an example of what the new normal is for lecturers, since, your institution, a private one, has been, teaching.
All right, listen, thanks for having me. Good evening, viewers. The new normal is what we've been hearing from the last 5-6 months since the outbreak of the pandemic. What it means is simply behavior change, the need for us to realize that we have an invisible enemy around us, and there's no vaccine to it at the moment. What we need to do is to change our behavior, wash our hands more often, be socially distant, and mask up. That's the new normal. Behavior change can be very difficult, but with strategic communication and if we stay consistently on it, of course, with time, we are bound to abide, even if it is slowly, but of course, some results will be achieved at the end of the day. Progress is being made. Progress is being made definitely, more especially with private institutions. I don't know much about public institutions because private institutions are not necessarily bogged down by red tapes. And of course, they've been carrying on in the last 5, 6, 7 months, and they are ready to continue from the perspective of my own institution. So the new normal overall is behavior change, and behavior change is adapting to the guidelines of NCDC.
Well, a lot of people are wondering realistically how indeed safe schooling is possible under the pandemic. We also know that a number of schools are, using the online methods now, and that appears to also be a challenge in this part of the world. Do you think that perhaps there will be the learning experience that one gets in terms of the relevant skills, that they will still be relevant for an increasingly competitive jobs market?
Yeah, before now, we've been talking about finding an equilibrium between
our life, and the threat of COVID-19. Adapting to the changes that we need in a period of pandemic like this is also part of the process. And one area in where we can carry out this experiment is among the youth. The youth are essentially learners. We expect them to cope even much easier than the elders, So experimenting it with the reopening of schools, I think is a welcome development. But with respect to quality of online teaching, do not forget that even before the advent of communications technology, there were surface mail education. Learning, some section of education took place through correspondences, and there are evidence to show that some of these were also very, very effective, So in that sense, you could say with coming of technology, of course, that process has even become much more sophisticated. And what another new number that we can pick out from the circumstances is that going forward, you'll find people either deciding to learn offline, or to learn completely online. And online life is a life we cannot deny, given where we are headed to, as humans. We're headed into the world of data sciences, augmented reality, and the Internet of Things. Remote life is something we cannot deny. And the educational sector, which relates essentially to capacity building, which is instrumental, which is a springboard of national development, cannot be an outlier in the circumstance. So overall, it's a holistic learning process, and humanity is bound to learn from this. So going forward, where it's been established that the virus is not going to go away, the vaccine, are slow in coming. What we need, non-pharmaceutical methods like we're adopting, and of course the schools, will be one place where we can experiment these things, in the next couple of months with the reopening of schools in this country.
We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi, Associate Professor, Bayes University, Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
We have more on the COVID-19 update when we return. Stay with us. Justin, let's take you to the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who is briefing with regards to the EndSARS protests in the state.
Ask for is a release of all protestants. I assure you that even as we stand here today, we have released every single protestant that has been in or in police detention. And if you know anyone that we haven't released, please, we have the opportunity again to mention the place, mention the name, and let us know where they are so that we can get them released. I'm also pleased to confirm to you that all the other demands that I've put forward with Mr. President and the IG, they've gone ahead to say we should implement. And like I did mention a few minutes ago, we had a NEC meeting earlier today, and we had also a NEC subcommittee, which was headed by the Vice President, in which they are still there. But because judgment of the press have kept you here, I needed to take an excuse and come and meet with you. So arising from that NEC subcommittee is that all governors will take some of the decisions locally in terms of implementing the 5 points that have been stated, in the demands for the EndSARS. And so for us in Lagos, this evening, we are setting up a panel of inquiry and restitution for victims of SARS that have related abuses in Lagos State. This 7-man panel will ensure that all with verifiable cases of SARS brutality or fatality for that matter receive justice, not only by ensuring that compensations are paid to them, but justice in terms of prosecution, if need be, will be meted out to people that are found wanting. It's the same model that NEC has advised that all states take. So, but I'm pushing it because I'm ready to make those pronouncements. So that panel today that we're constituting will be headed by a retired judge in Lagos State, Honorable Justice Doris Okuobi. Other members of that panel will include Mr. Ebun Adegburua, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who is representing the civil society, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police Taiwo Lakano, Ms. Patience Udo, who is also representing the civil society, Mr. Shegun Awosonya, who is a known human rights activist, Mrs. Odesonya, who is our Director, Civil Litigation in our Mediation Center, Ojusonya rather. We've also created a slot for the youth to also still send a nominee, because all our interactions with them is that there is no agreed or known leader. So there is still a slot that is left for the youth in any form. We don't know how they're going to come about, but we are still, they have a room to still send a nominee into this panel. And finally, we also expect that we'll get a representative of Human Rights Commission into this panel. Like I did mention 2 days ago, the state government has also set aside a 200 million naira fund to be utilized by this panel. So once determinations are made as into what amount of compensation that needs to be paid, the funds are available, and this panel would have sufficient power to be able to disburse on these funds as at when due. We'll also be setting up a call center, like an help desk for the panel now and going forward. This panel will have a 6 months assignment at the first instance, a 6 months assignment at the first instance, and the details of their terms of reference will be signed out by the Attorney General. So we'll be setting out their numbers. There are 3 numbers that we've identified for them, and from Monday those numbers will go live. It's 0901 051 3203, 0901 051 3204, and 0901 051 3205. So these are 3 numbers ending with 3203, 3204, and 3205. I'm aware that the numbers are live now, but because the panel is not sitting yet, so they don't have the opportunity to pick the calls now. Also to mention that Lagos State is taking the issue of police misconduct very, very seriously. Earlier this week, we all recorded an incident that happened at the Area C Command in Surulere. All the 4 erring officers, whose names I will also mention, have also been apprehended, and they are going through an orderly room trial. It's currently being conducted on them. They are Inspector Bogu Michael, Inspector Epodom Etop, Sergeant Namdi Majura, Sergeant Akinyele Benson. All the 4 officers have been identified, and like I said, they are going through an orderly room trial as we speak. Let me also address an issue that also happened this morning, and all of you gentlemen of press saw it. We condemn with the greatest energy that we have as a government any form of thuggery, any form of assault, any form of intimidation on the protestants. They have the rights and they have the constitutional means. For as long as they're peaceful, we do not have a problem with that.
That's live broadcast from the Lagos State Governor rolling out some of the reforms to begin with the police and starting in Lagos State. We continue with our regular programming. Coming up shortly is Winning Ways, but you've been watching the COVID-19 update. Remember that for further updates, you can take a look at our website. It's channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.